All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another post-fight discussion video, somewhat of a post-fight discussion video. Definitely not an analysis video. This rematch, Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 2, is not really worth breaking down. That's why I just been kind of taking my time with this one. I just wanted to kind of bring something different and just talk about the texture of the fight. You know what I mean? The overall rhythm of the fight, what went wrong, what could have happened. Just some of the questions that some people asked me about why it went down the way it went down. Well, before the fight happened, I was kind of torn again, and I said it was 50-50 for good reason, because I still thought that Carla Esparza had the mental edge in this fight. And to me, that's really what it came down to. So to me, there's really nothing to break down round by round in this one. It was just uneventful on both sides. I mean, everybody's saying, okay, Carla didn't do enough to take the belt. To beat the champion, you have to beat the champion, right? But to me, Rose, she didn't really press the fight. Rose didn't really press the fight. Carla did what she was supposed to do. She was the fighter that she was. But to me, it's like, if Rose is this much improved fighter, why didn't she capitalize where Carla fails? You know what I mean? Why didn't she really take advantage in those moments? That's why I say round by round, there's nothing to analyze in this one. I mean, if you ask me, okay, 3 rounds to 2, Carla won it. That's it. I got it 3 rounds to 2. One judge had it 4 rounds to 1. I'm fine with that too. I'm not even going to call robbery on this one or any type of BS, and say Rose deserved to keep her belt because she didn't push the fight. She didn't push the fight. And I think even a lot of the Rose fanboys agree with that, because nobody's coming on my channel now. They all disappeared. Nobody's coming spamming saying, oh, Rose was robbed, Rose was this, Rose was that. They saw their champion not go in there and try to lay down her dominance over somebody that everybody said was easy to beat and one-dimensional, right? But what it came down to me, the reason Carla won this fight is because of the mental edge. I did many of videos talking about this. I said, look, okay, Rose is improved, but there's that one thing, the mental edge. She may not be the same fighter she was 8 years ago, but she still has that question mark over her head. Like, she's still unpredictable. That's why I always say, like, there's a difference between her and Rose and Valentina to me. People hate to hear that, when I say that Valentina is a much more sharper, dedicated champion, but it's true. It's true. I mean, look at the performance. I mean, look at the consistency here. Rose isn't consistent like this. I mean, I'm not disrespecting her as a person. I'm just saying as a champion, and when she's in the octagon, she's not consistent. So if you ask me who is a better champion, I'm going to say Valentina, because the records speak for itself. Hell, Rose will probably say the same thing. Why do you think she's going to her to train for certain fights? Because she knows that Valentina is the definition of what a consistent champion is, right? But as for Rose Namajunas, it's like always up in the air. I mean, like, she's fighting hard. She's overcome a lot. But, in certain situations, you just really can't count on her to go in there and defend her belt, And I think that's why a lot of the Rose fanboys disappeared on this one, because they saw it. They saw it. And that's what it was, mental edge in this fight. That's why there's really nothing to say, oh, she didn't jab enough or her jab doesn't look good. No, her jab looks good, but it's the fact that she was still overthinking and over-respecting. And she's already going on record to say that, like, she's a perfectionist. Sometimes she'll overthink, and that kind of causes the anxiety, right? So when you put all of that together into certain type of situations like this, boom, that's your answer. I know MMA math doesn't really add up, but certain types of, mental anxiety, stress and frustration and things like that, if you put a person in certain situations, that will give you the result that y'all saw Saturday night. You know what I mean? And I think, going into this fight here, Carla Esparza, like I said in my other video, I think she was just doing what she was going to do. Carla was going to be Carla. Every fight, Carla is Carla, which can either bring on an L or it can bring on a W. Some fighters just aren't used to that type of wrestling style. They're not used to fighting wrestlers consistently. So Carla is able to do what she does. And somebody like Rose Namajunas, I told y'all again, like, I can see this fight being close, because even though Carla Esparza is not Joanna, she's not Weili, she's not explosive and as strong as these fighters in some ways, she still brings a threat to Rose Namajunas, and her kryptonite is wrestling. She still brings that kryptonite. Her kryptonite is wrestling. Rose has proven that time and time again. Look, she has good takedown defense. She can go in there and improve in certain categories, but when it comes to the wrestling, it's still like it gives her some type of anxiety where she doesn't want to go full on strength with Carla Esparza, especially, she kind of proved that she's still kind of thinking back to 8 years ago, what happened to her. She doesn't want to fall into that category, right? I mean, it's just, it works like that sometimes. Sometimes when a person is just not really like confident in themselves, or they overthink and they stress, they will think of that. They will think of that past sometimes. You can push forward, but you still think of it. And I think that's what really made this fight lackluster. Like, Rose, she came in with a crazy strategy, an off the wall strategy, something she's never done before, of trying to be too defensively sound. And she actually turned out to be playing keep away in there. I mean, if you look at every round, it's the same thing, her posing, posturing, trying to win over the crowd just by like showboating. But she wasn't really touching Carla a lot. She landed a few good jabs and maybe a right hand here and there. But overall, like, she wasn't really committed to like putting the full on force on Carla, because it was still like Carla still owns her mentally. You know what I mean? And she was like, if I step into this realm and become explosive like I did in the first fight, Carla's going to catch me, So I think, let's look at it like this. What went wrong for Rose? Let's look at Rose first. Rose, to me, I think she was really, like I said, it was a mental thing, but I think she was really just ignoring her ability to measure range offensively. Like I said, she was so defensive minded to stay away from the wrestling that she didn't really believe in her offense here, because if she did, she would have fought more at mid range and even taken a page out of Joanna's book, right? She would have started watching and said, okay, this is how Joanna did it. She was able to extend her full on shots. She was able to use some push kicks and just land with accuracy by, keeping Carla at a range. But instead, she wanted to fight backwards and fight zigzagging and sideways. She actually could have fought mid-range and kept Carla at bay with just solid jabs. I mean, jabs really work on wrestlers and grapplers, fighters that just want to storm in. You just pump that jab out, you good to go, So I think she really ignored her ability to measure range here. She wanted to stay completely out of range, but that's Carla's thing. If she would have fought at mid-range, she probably could have, pumped out double jabs and right hands and caught Carla on, the second and third shot. Because Carla, she was measuring range well. That's how wrestlers do. She was like Marina Moreau in there, staying completely out of range. But when she stepped in, Rose would throw that jab and boom, she's gone. So offense, if she'd have walked her down more, she would have been in there. But she didn't really want to commit to that. And that's why she wasn't able to tame Carla's wrestling. But committed with a jab, she probably could have tamed it and even had those opportunities to land knees up the middle whenever Carla shoots in, because Carla doesn't really do anything too fancy. She just sticks to her game, And another thing I'll say is what went wrong with this fight is that, Rose didn't believe in her improvements. It's obvious she didn't, because she overthought. She came in with a crazy strategy, crazy game plan, and it shows in the punch stats. It shows in the strike stats. You know what I mean? She didn't really believe in her game plan, or she didn't really believe in her improvements. Let me put it that way. I don't know if she did have like a full-on game plan throughout the fight, because it just kind of went everywhere. She didn't believe in her improvements. It seems her fans, they believed in more in her improvements than she did, because if she did, she would have really got some work in. Because to me, I think everything that Rose has improved in and brought into her game, it was more than enough to beat Carla Esparza. It was more than enough. The thing is, she had everything she needed to defeat Carla Esparza. Let's put it that way. But the thing is, Carla had enough to beat Rose. And the thing is, if you have enough and you have the mental strength, you're going to beat that other fighter that has everything but no mental game, right? If that makes sense. Y'all get me? So like I'm saying, Carla Esparza, she had enough to beat Rose, but she believed in it. Just enough, and she believed in it. But Rose over here didn't have enough confidence, but she had everything. She just didn't have the mental strength to use everything, because if you go back and break it down and look at what Rose has, the height, the reach, the striking, the strength, the improved jiu-jitsu, even the ability to stop takedowns, she could have really walked through Rose if she wanted to, but she didn't commit to that. So, like I said, the fans, they believed in her improvements. She just didn't, because that was stuff I even thought about, when I was doing my mental breakdown of the fight, and I was like, should I pick Carla or should I pick Rose? I was like, Rose has everything she needs, but does she have it mentally? So I said, nope, I'm going to go with Carla, because I think Carla has enough, and she'll fight her fight. Carla's going to be Carla. Rose didn't even know if she wanted to be Rose, right? So, yeah, another reason it went wrong is just basically because Rose hasn't really dealt with wrestlers, Rose hasn't dealt with wrestlers in a long time. Again, y'all were putting comments and they're saying, oh, she's going to destroy her. I was like, all right, she's not Joanna or Wei Lee. Joanna and Wei Lee, they play chess. Carla's not going to play chess. Carla's going to play her game, boring or not. She's going to do what she does. It might be ugly, but she'll still get the victory. That's how I thought about it. And then it just comes down to Rose not being confident. Her team just telling her the wrong advice. And like I said the other day, like sometimes if she detaches from her team, she doesn't really know how to control her own self. She's kind of waiting on what they say. And like if Trevor Whitman says she's 4 rounds up or she's doing good, that's not good because she can't make her own judgment, if you know what I mean. Like she should be making her own judgment to say, stop lying to me. She should know, right? Like if somebody's BSing her, but she's let her team take so much control over her that she can't actually make the observation that she is losing the fight, right? Because you have to go in there and feel it too. Like your coaches, they catch what you can't see and they catch your opponent's weaknesses, but you need to be able to go in there and feel out what you're doing wrong and actually feel out what your opponent's doing and find their rhythm and know your own rhythm, right? So that was another big part of it. For Carla Esparza, what went wrong, I can't say anything because she won the fight. I mean, as far as it being boring, Carla was just being Carla. You know what I mean? I can't really say anything went wrong on her part. I mean, what went wrong for Rose and why she lost her belt, everything was pretty much like Carla said in her recent interview on MMA Hour, or Ariel Wani's interview. She stated that Rose beat herself. She just really beat herself mentally. And that's something I've always kind of stuck by, even going into this fight. I said she can make all the improvements she wants and she can bring everything to the table, but if she doesn't have the mental strength, she's never going to beat Carla. Because everybody can talk about how Carla looks, in there, but when she comes to the octagon, she's expressing this. She's focused. Carla has one. I say Carla may not have like the widest range of skills, but she definitely has some of the best focus in the game. Got to give her that, guaranteed for sure. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got on this one. Like I said, I just want to go back and talk about the fight as a whole as much as I could, give y'all on, some of y'all asking me questions why you think it went the way it did. That's pretty much why I think. I just think that Rose, she overthinks in certain situations whenever the fight is so big, she starts to second guess herself. She doesn't really believe in her skill set, and I still think she has like a wider range of skills than Carla. But what is that if you don't know how to go in there and use it, or if you don't know how to commit to it, So I think she might need a better corner in her team that can really talk to her, or, let's be real. I mean, she's fought at a high level and she's elite in certain ways, but should she really be fighting? That's another thing to consider. I know a lot of fighters, they would disagree with what I say, but I mean, you got to think about that. Like for Rose, she really has to rise to the occasion. Like she really has to like build up this fire and find some reason to fight in these, big epic fights in her mind. You know what I mean? She really has to find some reason to dig deep to do this. Is that really for somebody? Whereas like, I think people like Valentina, even like Holly Holm, they enjoy fighting. You know what I mean? Like they're a part of fighting. Like for Valentina Shevchenko, I get the feeling like this is her lifestyle. This is how she improves her life. Like every time she steps in there, she's really like feeling like this is a part of her where, I just go in there and do what I do. This is me. I am the best at it. I don't need to keep repeating it to myself. It shows in my work. For Rose, she has to keep saying that over and over. Like, let the skills speak for yourself. Back in the day, of course, there were fighters like Floyd, Ali, they would say that I'm the greatest. That was just to get into their opponent's head, not to get in their own head and convince themselves. You know what I mean? So it's a big thing. Like I said, I feel like this talk is more interesting than the actual fight itself because when you kind of go into the psyche of a fighter and why they do it, sometimes you say, man, well, maybe this person shouldn't be fighting. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. But for me, one, Rose, she's still young. Maybe she shouldn't really spend her days doing this if it's that hard for her to get up for it, or if she really has to dig deeper, go to a dark side to fight. Maybe that's not for her, But moving on from here, Carla Esparza, she's got a target on her back. Everybody's looking to get at her. Y'all can put in the comment section you want her to see fight next. I'll do more videos talking about it. As for Rose, I don't know. Rose, Mackenzie Dern, maybe by the end of the year, or maybe just take a year off, get away from fighting to see if that's what she really wants to do. Because like I said, even if she regained the belt, I don't know if that's really for her. She said she was more responsible as a champion or more comfortable being a champion, but I don't know. I just don't know. Still dubbed as still going down as the worst strawweight fight in history, probably the worst in UFC history. I was trying to do my research today to see if there's anything worse, but yeah, this was worse than Liz Carmouche and Valentina. No, that fight at least had a little bit of action, I think, if I remember. But this one here, oh man, like I said, there's no reason to do it round by round on this. We'll just talk about what went wrong as a whole, and that's about it. Like, unless I want to punish y'all for a round by round one day, I'll pull that fight up and we'll watch it just to just to get on your people's nerves and stuff, just to punish people. But no, I wouldn't even do that to anybody. No, I won't do that. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section what y'all think, man. What y'all thought of the fight as a whole. What should Rose do from here? Should she continue to fight? Hang it up? What's up? Carla Esparza, who should she fight next? Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.